Okay, let's dive into something that might sound, well, completely upside down. Imagine hearing that everything you thought you knew about fixing a struggling marriage, things like scheduling date nights, working on communication together, maybe even going to conventional marriage counseling, might not just be ineffective, but potentially harmful.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim, especially when those ideas are so, baked into how we think about relationships.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the territory we're exploring today. We're doing a deep dive into excerpts from the book, First, Kill All the Marriage Counselors, Modern-Day Secrets to Being Desired, Cherished, and Adored for Life by Laura Doyle.
Right. And this book, it comes from a place of deep personal frustration, actually. The author, Laura Doyle, she tried all that standard advice, the date nights, the communication techniques,
The
counseling,
usual stuff.
the usual stuff, and she felt like it just made things worse in her own marriage, almost leading to divorce.
Wow. So she felt lost, resentful, following that conventional path didn't work for her.
Not at all. So she started experimenting, kind of figuring out through trial and error what actually worked to create connection and happiness in her marriage. And she developed what she calls the 6 intimacy skills. She's taught them to thousands of women since then.
Okay, 6 intimacy skills. And the core idea, this is the really counterintuitive part.
Hmm. The core premise is that creating a happy, connected marriage is primarily, quote, up to women and their skill level.
Up to women.
Yeah. It's not about getting your husband to change or about the two of you working on the relationship together in that traditional way. It's fundamentally about working on yourself.
That's a huge pivot from the usual it takes two idea.
Yeah.
And honestly, it might sound a bit unsettling for some listener.
It definitely challenges common assumptions.
But our mission today is just to unpack the most compelling and practical ideas from these excerpts, the ones that claim they can bring about a radical shift, no matter how long you felt stuck.
And what's really interesting is how explicitly it rejects so much common advice. The focus is all on individual transformation, changing the dynamic.
Okay, so let's jump straight into that foundation. The idea that really stopped me in my tracks. The claim that wives actually hold the most power in intimate relationships.
Yes, the source material really pushes back against the popular notions of marriage being 50-50 or even 100-100. It makes the case that wives have much more influence, actually, and the most power.
How does it argue that? Because that feels counter to a lot of narratives.
Well, it points to a pretty surprising statistic. Women initiate 2/3 of all divorces.
Two-thirds.
And, get this, for college-educated women, that number apparently jumps up to 90%.
90. Wow.
Yeah. And the book frames this as evidence of power. Think about it like a negotiation. The person most willing and able to walk away holds significant leverage.
Okay, I see the logic there. If women are statistically more likely to end it, they're the ones constantly evaluating.
Exactly. Constantly evaluating the relationship's viability and more willing to say, this isn't working. That willingness is presented as a form of power.
And it goes beyond just divorce stats, doesn't it? There's this idea about women being the sexier sex.
The sexier sex, the gatekeepers of sex. And it argues that men are inherently driven to please women, that a core masculine drive is feeling successful and capable, and often they feel that success when their wives are happy, smiling.
So the idea is men are sort of wired to want to make their partners happy.
That's the perspective, yeah, that they get a real sense of fulfillment from succeeding at bringing joy to the women they love.
Okay, like that story. Was it Ellen in the groceries?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. She used to get really frustrated because her husband would just stay on the couch while she hauled in all the bags, right?
Right. Familiar story for many, I imagine.
Probably. But after learning these skills, she didn't complain or demand help. One time, she just casually mentioned how much she loved it that one time, months ago, when he happened to carry a bag in.
Just mentioning a past positive.
Exactly. And the source says he literally perked up, and the very next time they got groceries, he apparently ran out to the garage to carry all the bags in, leaving her relaxing inside.
Wow. So just shifting the focus.
Shifting from complaint or focusing on what he's not doing to appreciating even a small past effort, the book says that taps into his desire to please you.
And the flip side, the source argues, is that if you don't see that eagerness in your husband, it might not be him being lazy or uncaring.
Right. It might be that your approach has inadvertently trained him to feel like he can't please you. Or maybe he feels like he's always defending himself against criticism or, attempts to control him.
So it kind of swings the spotlight back onto the wife's influence on his responsiveness.
It definitely does. It puts the power, or at least the initial leverage for change, firmly with her actions and attitude.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense as a lead-in to the first skill the book talks about, the one it calls the indispensable first step.
Which is self-care, or, as the book puts it, making yourself happy first.
Now, this isn't self-care like ticking off a box, right? Not obligation.
No, not at all. The book is really specific here. Self-care is focusing on activities that make you feel good, things that are genuinely fun, purely for the pleasure of it.
So it's not doing yoga if you actually hate yoga, even if it's good for you.
Exactly. And crucially, housework is never self-care, even if clearing the clutter feels productive for a moment.
Ah, okay. I remember the example of Marnie wanting to count folding laundry.
Right. And the book's response is basically, no, not self-care. Self-care is about filling your own tank with joy. Singing, dancing, getting a massage, reading a book with coffee, whatever truly lights you up.
So how do you know if you're doing enough? Is there a measure?
The only measure, according to the source, is your state of mind. Simple as that. If you're feeling grumpy, resentful, easily irritated, you probably need more self-care.
And if you feel happy, centered.
You're likely doing enough. It's about your internal state.
And the benefits described are pretty significant. It gives you reserves.
Right, so you're not running on fumes. It signals to your husband and others that you value yourself, that you're worthy of being pleased. It teaches them how to treat you.
And Marnie even felt like her time expanded.
Yeah, that was her experience. Prioritizing joy actually made her feel like she had more time, strangely enough.
But the most profound point here, maybe, is what the source says about unhappiness.
Yes, it states it pretty bluntly. If you are unhappy, it is your responsibility to make yourself happy, not your husband's.
Oof, that's direct.
It is. And the very first place to look when you find yourself constantly finding fault with him is your own self-care level. Are you meeting your own needs for joy and pleasure?
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From he needs to make me happy to I need to make myself happy first.
Exactly. It sets up this foundation of personal responsibility. You start with your own fulfillment.
Okay, so once you're kind of rooted in that self-care, how do you interact differently? That leads into skill #2, right? Expressing desires, yeah, but in a way that inspires.
Yes, inspiring desires, not complaining or demanding. This skill is all about the difference between a pure desire and a complaint or a demand.
Okay, what's a pure desire then?
It focuses on the outcome you want or the feeling you want to experience. It's about you.
So instead of saying, I want you to plan us a vacation,
You might say something like, I would love a change of scenery. Because the feeling you want is refreshment. It leaves the how open.
ah, I see. Or Charlotte's note about the laundry.
Right. There are clothes in the washer. I would love it if they were dry when I came home. It states her desired end state. It doesn't say you need to put the clothes in the dryer.
It's subtle, but different.
Very. And the book suggests that most complaints are really just unexpressed desires. So the practice is, when you catch yourself complaining, stop. Ask yourself, okay, what do I actually want here?
And then state that.
State that pure desire. And the book argues that just expressing it, even without any expectation he'll fulfill it immediately, is way more powerful than debating him or disagreeing with his logic. That kind of debate is framed as disrespectful.
Disrespectful. We'll probably come back to that. But the puppy stories illustrate this, don't they? Jenny versus Meredith.
Perfectly. Jenny really wanted a puppy. She told her husband, Derek, vulnerably about her deep desire. He had concerns, practical ones.
And she didn't argue?
Nope. She listened, said, I hear you, and just left it there. No pushing, no debating his points. And later, Derek surprised her with the puppy because he wanted to make her happy. He had the space to choose that.
Okay, and Meredith?
Meredith also wanted a puppy, but she approached her husband, Simon, with a whole case for why they needed one. She argued, debated his points, trying to convince him logically.
Sounds like a more common approach, maybe?
Perhaps. But she ended up getting the puppy sort of despite his disagreement. And the book says this created tension and hostility because Simon felt like his thinking was just run over, disrespected.
So expressing the desire leaves room for him to step up willingly, whereas arguing shuts that down.
That's the idea presented, yes. It taps into that desire to please rather than triggering defensiveness.
Though the source does say simple requests are fine, right? Like, can you grab milk?
Oh, absolutely. It's not about never asking for anything directly. It's about the difference between a request and a demand, or expressing a desire versus lodging a complaint or starting a debate.
Got it. Okay, shifting focus again. Skill #3. Restoring respect. This sounds fundamental, believing he's a good guy.
It is presented as absolutely fundamental. The starting point is choosing to believe he is a good guy. You married him for reasons, maybe good ones you've forgotten.
Unless he falls into certain, deal-breaker categories, though the book is a bit controversial there, too.
Right. It does suggest that even things some might consider deal breakers like verbal abuse, addiction, mental illness might not be if the wife consistently applies these skills. That's definitely a challenging part of the source material.
Very challenging. But the core idea for most relationships is assume competence, assume good intent.
Assume he's smart, capable, competent, because, the book argues, men will fight for themselves when they don't feel respected by their wives. Your belief in him actually impacts his self-worth and even his performance.
Performance like it.
Uh,
At work.
yeah, the book gives examples. Renee's husband getting promotions after she started showing more respect, a businessman deciding not to sell his company too early because his wife trusted his judgment, even when others didn't.
Even a football player feeling safer.
Apparently. He felt his wife's faith in him was protective. The message is, your respect has real-world impact.
So how do you show this respect practically? The book gives phrases, right?
Yes, specific phrases. Whatever you think is a big one.
Whatever you think. When would you use that?
Instead of jumping in with your opinion or trying to manage his decision about something, maybe a financial choice or how to handle a situation, like Kathy using it when her husband was picking a cell phone plan, it signals trust in his judgment.
It sounds potentially hard to say if you have a strong opinion.
Oh, definitely. And the other key phrase is, I hear you.
I hear you.
Used when you just want to listen, to let him talk without you needing to fix it, give advice, or share your own perspective right away. The source notes that this is surprisingly difficult for many women.
I can imagine we often want to connect by sharing our view or helping.
Right. But sometimes the most respectful thing is just to listen and acknowledge you've heard him.
This connects to that spouse-fulfilling prophecy idea too, doesn't it?
Deeply. The book argues that you can basically find evidence to support whatever view you choose to hold about your husband.
Whether you see him as a loser or as capable and loving.
Exactly. So by consciously choosing to focus on and affirm his good qualities, even if it feels like a bit of a stretch at first, you can actually help shift the reality. You start noticing more of the good, and he often responds positively to that affirmation.
Like the author calling her husband Mr. Moneybags when she was scared about money.
Yeah, she chose to affirm his ability to provide despite her fear, and he ended up starting a successful business. Or the woman who decided to believe it's not like him to lose his temper, and apparently his temper improved.
So you're essentially making the case for the reality you want to see.
That's the essence of it. Choosing your focus, choosing what you affirm.
And this respect thing also extends to how you talk about him in front of the kids.
Oh, hugely important according to the source. Criticizing dad in front of the kids is presented as really harmful. It undermines his authority, his power as a father. Kids tend to adopt the mother's view.
Like Evelyn realizing she was creating grumpy dad PR.
Exactly. Even if he was a hero to them otherwise. The advice is to tell positive stories about him instead. Affirm his good qualities to the children.
And not interfere when he's being a dad. Like Ellen with the boys playing catch.
Right. The book emphasizes that only a man can really teach a boy how to be a man, referencing the story of Mike teaching his son Matthew to race. Interfering undermines that natural role.
So restoring respect, it's about your internal belief, your words, your actions, even how you talk about him.
Yes. It creates a safer space for him to be his best self, is the argument.
Which feels like a natural bridge to skill #4, relinquishing control. This one sounds tough, too.
It's often described as one of the hardest, yeah. And the book connects it directly to facing your own fears.
Fear. How so?
The source suggests that most attempts to control your husband, his choices, his behavior, how he spends money, how he parents, stem from a deeper fear within you.
Like fear of what might happen if you let go.
Exactly. Fear of things falling apart, fear of him messing up, fear of scarcity. The questions to ask yourself are, what am I afraid will happen? Or even, what am I trying to avoid facing in my own life by focusing on controlling him?
That's deep. So what's the practical tool here?
It's called staying on your own paper.
Staying on your own paper.
Yeah. It means you focus only on what you can control. Your own actions, your own choices, your own limits, your own happiness. You don't try to manage or control his paper or anyone else's.
Okay, give me an example, like Tiffany and the clothes.
Perfect example. Tiffany's daughter and husband were leaving dirty clothes around. She couldn't make them pick them up, right? That's controlling their paper.
Right.
But she could stay on her own paper. She decided she would no longer pick up their clothes. That was her action, her limit.
So she controlled herself, not them.
Exactly. The book says it's fine to desire a tidy house, but you can't control others to achieve it without crossing onto their paper. You can close the door to the messy room, perhaps, but not force them to clean it through manipulation or nagging.
This skill also includes that really provocative idea. Communication is overrated.
Oh, yeah, that one gets attention.
What's the thinking there? Isn't communication key?
The source argues that a lot of what passes for communication, like we need to talk sessions or focusing heavily on feelings, especially trying to get men to talk about their feelings, can actually be counterproductive or even damaging. It draws on that Mars-Venus idea, men more oriented towards thinking nug action, women towards feeling connection. The book suggests that pushing a man to dissect his feelings can feel unnatural or even disrespectful to him, not aligned with how men often process things.
So asking him, how do you feel, might not be helpful.
According to this source, asking that might actually be a sign that the wife is feeling lost or scared and is trying to get him to fix her feeling rather than her expressing her own vulnerability directly.
Like in the Tanya story.
Yeah,
She kept asking how he felt.
when really she was afraid to say, I miss you, I want our marriage back. She was avoiding her own vulnerable truth.
Wow, okay. And relinquishing control extends to finances too. That's called the graduate work.
Yes, the graduate level stuff. Acknowledged as super scary for many women, especially if they've always managed the money.
But the book claims benefits.
Big ones, potentially. Things like the wife having more time and energy for self-care, deeper intimacy because trust increases, and often the husband actually steps up financially, becomes more responsible, more generous, more successful.
How do you even approach that conversation? You can't just dump it on him.
No, the suggestion isn't to blame him or make it about his incompetence. It's to state your own limit from your own paper. Something like, honey, I've realized I can't manage the finances anymore. It's too stressful, overwhelming for me.
Making it about your capacity, not his failing.
Exactly. The source argues that when a wife controls the finances, it can sometimes disempower the husband, maybe even trigger irresponsible behavior because he doesn't feel trusted or needed in that domain. It can create a kind of mom-son dynamic.
Ah, like the story of Bethany wanting boots?
Yeah.
And her husband Laney feeling like he had to ask his mom for money.
Precisely. It shifted when she relinquished control. And the book also suggests separate bank accounts might hinder intimacy, reinforcing separation. Letting go of financial control is framed as going all in on the partnership. It requires faith, letting go of that fear.
It's about trusting him and trusting the process, even when it feels scary.
The underlying idea is you can't truly control him anyway, so focusing your energy on managing him is exhausting and ineffective. Focusing on what you control, your choices, your reactions, is more powerful and peaceful.
Okay. That leads us to skill #5, receiving graciously. This feels connected.
Very connected. It's presented as absolutely vital for intimacy.
Why vital?
The book links receiving to feminine energy, receptive energy, and it says this receptive energy naturally inspires masculine giving energy. When a woman can't receive, that cycle gets broken.
The giving-receiving cycle.
Yeah. The man doesn't get the fulfillment that comes from giving, from pleasing her, if his gifts or efforts are constantly deflected or criticized. It shuts down the flow that builds connection.
So what does receiving graciously look like in practice?
It means accepting gifts, compliments, help, gestures of affection, without dismissing them, joking them away, correcting them, or rejecting them, even if they aren't exactly what you wanted or how you would have done it.
Like accepting help with laundry even if he folds the towels wrong.
Exactly. Or just smiling and saying a genuine thank you for a gift you don't actually love, instead of pointing out its flaws or why it's not right for you.
Or accepting a compliment without saying, oh, this old thing.
Yes. The author talks about how she used to do that all the time. Or her reaction to her husband's gift of a juicer. She initially saw it as a criticism of her health, not as his attempt to give her something he thought she'd like.
So the benefits are.
Well, the book says it makes you more attractive, leaning into that receptive feminine energy. It dramatically increases intimacy because rejecting a gift or help feels like rejecting the giver.
Oh, that's powerful. Rejecting the gift is rejecting the giver.
Right. It also says receiving graciously actually attracts more good things to you, more help, more gifts, more compliments.
Right.
And it teaches people how to treat you by showing you believe you're worthy of receiving good things.
Essentially, it makes you pleasable.
That's the word used, yes.
Yep.
If you constantly reject or correct his efforts, you effectively train him that he can't succeed at pleasing you. And that can extinguish his motivation to even try.
Why is it so hard, though? to just say thank you and accept?
The source suggests a few reasons. It can feel like losing control someone else is doing something for you. It can feel vulnerable to receive. Or maybe just doesn't fit your agenda or expectations for how things should be done.
But choosing to do it anyway is key for connection.
Fundamental, according to this perspective.
Okay, finally, skill #6. Revealing your heart with vulnerability. This sounds like the deepest level.
It's presented that way, yes. The direct path to deep connection and intimacy.
What does vulnerability mean in this context? It's not just crying, right?
No, not necessarily. It's defined as revealing your true, often messy feelings, things like hurt, loneliness, fear, confusion, or simply needing help. It's sharing the part of you that feels maybe weak or uncertain.
And the book says it feels risky.
Incredibly risky. Your instinct might be to hide those feelings, to put on a brave face. But the book argues that true intimacy happens when you let yourself be seen, flaws and all. That's when you feel loved just the way you are.
And it's not weakness.
Absolutely not. The source is clear. It takes tremendous strength and courage to be vulnerable, to open up like that.
Is there a practical tool for this one too? Like when you feel hurt by something he says or does?
Yes, a very specific, simple response is offered. Just say, ouch.
Ouch. That's it.
That's it. Instead of lashing back, getting defensive, explaining why he's wrong, or even saying something loaded like you hurt my feelings, you just state your reaction simply, ouch.
What's the purpose of that?
The book argues it does several things. It takes care of you in the moment by acknowledging the hurt without escalating things. It prevents a bigger conflict. And it helps you maintain your dignity. You're not attacking, just stating your experience.
Does it always work? Does he apologize?
Not necessarily. The book mentions Bonnie's husband just responded, ouch? What's ouch? He seemed confused.
So maybe he didn't get it.
Or maybe, the book suggests, he was reacting to the pattern interrupt. She wasn't engaging in the usual fight. The point isn't necessarily getting an immediate apology. The benefit is the outcome of responding vulnerably, more peace, less conflict, and ultimately deeper intimacy over time, like Jill experienced.
And vulnerability is also key for getting help when you're overwhelmed.
Yes. Big difference between complaining, I'm so tired I do everything around here, and being vulnerable, honey, I'm really struggling to keep up with everything. I feel overwhelmed and I need help.
The first sounds like an accusation, the second like a plea.
Exactly. And the book suggests men often respond positively to the vulnerable plea for help. It makes them feel needed, capable, like they're contributing something valuable, maybe tapping into that dynamic of how they might help their own mothers, who might express need more directly. Complaining isn't vulnerable. Admitting need is.
So these skills together offer a really different way to handle disagreements, even serious ones like, well, the book tackles verbal abuse.
It does, and again, controversially. The source suggests that what gets labeled verbal abuse isn't always a simple victim-abuser dynamic, but sometimes a culture the couple has co-created.
Co-created. That's a challenging idea.
Very. It claims that if the wife consistently applies these skills, respect, vulnerability, staying on her own paper, the abusive behavior can often disappear, at least among basically good guys who have fallen into bad patterns.
Like the Wanda story. She saw him as hostile, but when she changed, he changed.
Right. She started practicing respect, and suddenly he seems like a different person, making her realize her own contributions to their negative cycle. The overall point is that these skills offer a way through conflict that isn't about winning or being right, but about expressing needs and feelings vulnerably.
The book does stress getting support, though, right? You don't do this alone.
Definitely. It acknowledges how hard this can be, especially when your husband's behavior seems like the whole problem. Talking to supportive girlfriends or a community is important.
Well, what kind of support?
Support to help you stay focused on your side of the street, your actions, your skills. Help clarifying your message so it stays about your feelings and desires. I feel lonely, I would love. Instead of becoming about what's wrong with him, you never.
But there's a warning about who you get support from.
Big warning. Avoid friends who will just bash your husband or tell you to divorce him, like Kelly's Divorce Walking Club example. Seek out like-minded women who are also committed to using these kinds of principles to make their own marriages better.
So the support needs to align with the goal of transformation, not just venting or husband bashing.
Exactly. It should reinforce the path you're trying to take.
Okay, that brings us towards the end. This idea of choosing your focus, faith over fear.
Right. This tackles that state of being ambivalent, what the book calls sitting on the fence.
Sitting on the fence, meaning?
Meaning you're kind of tolerating your husband, not fully accepting him, maybe fantasizing about alternatives, but Not leaving either, you're undecided. Like the Hannah story, where she was constantly comparing her husband to other men.
And the book says this is damaging.
Deeply damaging to intimacy. The metaphor is literal. Sitting on a fence hurts your butt. You can't get comfortable, you can't relax, you can't fully invest emotionally. It's often rooted in fear. Fear of making the wrong choice, fear of being alone, fear of missing out.
So what's the alternative?
The alternative is to choose. To get off the fence and go all in emotionally. Choose faith over fear. Deliberately open your heart and accept your husband just as he is, quirks and all.
Even the courts.
Even the quirks. This ties right back into gratitude and those spouse-fulfilling prophecies we talked about.
Because you can always find evidence for whatever you're looking for.
Precisely. You can build a case for him being a loser, or you can build a case for him being smart, capable, loving, and trying his best. The source argues you'll find evidence for whichever case you decide to make.
So choosing to focus on the good, expressing gratitude for it, it changes your reality.
It changes your experience of reality and often influences the reality itself. Like the Zig Ziglar story about being grateful for the job you have. Even if it's not perfect, it shifts your perspective and often leads to better outcomes. Choosing faith and gratitude is presented as the most empowering choice for you and the relationship.
It's about making that conscious emotional commitment.
Yes. Committing to seeing the best, expecting the best, and appreciating what's there. That creates the fertile ground for intimacy to flourish.
So to recap the core message from these excerpts of, first, kill all the marriage counselors. By focusing inward on yourself and practicing these specific skills, self-care first, expressing desires vulnerably, restoring respect, letting go of control, receiving graciously, revealing your heart, and choosing faith and gratitude.
The promised outcome, according to the source, is that passionate, playful, peaceful, intimate relationship, feeling desired, cherished, and adored.
And the key takeaway is that this transformation comes primarily from the wife, learning and practicing these skills. It's not about changing him directly or doing traditional relationship work together. It's about changing yourself.
It's a really self-focused approach to relationship transformation.
It is. Definitely challenging, maybe even revolutionary for some people's thinking.
It absolutely reframes where the power and responsibility for marital happiness might lie, puts a lot of emphasis on individual skill, self-mastery, emotional intelligence.
So, thinking about this deep dive into Laura Doyle's perspective, if happiness and connection are primarily up to the wife and her skill level, as the source claims, what does that make you consider about where your own energy and focus might be directed right now?
Yeah, that's a powerful question to sit with. Or maybe consider the source's strong critique of conventional wisdom, even counseling. Where else in life might you be relying on accepted advice or common ways of doing things that perhaps aren't actually serving the outcome you truly desire?